This is a reading from A Course in Tranquility, Integrating Meditation, Effective Living and Non-Dualism. From Chapter 2, on Love and Relationships. Swami Sri Yukteswar, a spiritual teacher from India, once said, "Ordinary love is selfish, darkly rooted in desires and satisfactions. Divine love is without condition, without boundary, without change. The flux of the human heart is gone forever at the transfixing touch of pure love." How many of us can love like that, and how many of us want to? Only a handful. To love in this way requires a strong and decisive act of will, to ignore the culturally ingrained ideas and adolescent attitudes most of us have about what love is meant to be like. To love in this way requires total immersion in our divine presence that is tranquil in all circumstances, and sees everyone equally as a unique expression of the one infinite consciousness. Think of all the stories of romance, of heroes overcoming great odds to be with the beloved, of how a person's life was perfected the moment they found that special someone. Those are stories and fantasy, and we want to be in reality as much as possible, right? Of course we do. Only there will we find perfect peace and real love. Get it out of your head that there is a special someone, or that your life would be different if only family or friends would change, or that things would be so much better if your lover finally became the person you always expected him or her to be. In my astrological practice, I'm often asked about relationships. When will it get better? Should I leave my husband? Is there someone better out there for me? Why do my friends always drag me down? How can I ever forgive her for cheating on me? It goes on. Remember that your astrological chart, and we all have one, reflects your individual karma. Unless you have exhausted a karma, if you leave or change a relationship without changing you, that pattern will continue to express in whatever new relationship you find. To exhaust your relationship karma, a decision is made. Decide that you have had enough of the relationship experiences you have been attracting, and really mean it. No longer will you put your happiness in the hands of other people, by having expectations of what they should be like, and then being disappointed when they simply act as they are. To exhaust your karma in relationships first requires that you take the time to pay attention to how people really are, to love and bless them in all their actions, and then to intentionally decide if you really want to be a part of all that a relationship with that person entails. Exercise 1. Step 1. When going into an interaction with anyone, remember that most people are on autopilot 95% of the time. Their actions are based on conditioning, how they've been raised, how they choose to see the world, and their motives in life, most of which they are not even aware. Step 2. Practice bringing conscious awareness into your relationships, specifically the ones you'd like to change. To do this, remember your past encounters with the person you are about to interact with. How did they make you feel? Bad, guilty, shameful, worthless, stupid, anxious, fearful? What did they do or say to make you feel that way? What language did they use? How did they catch you off guard? What did they talk about? Pay attention to their patterns of interaction. Remember those patterns before you go into the interaction, either in person or on the phone. Then watch and wait for those patterns to repeat, and observe how they make you feel the way you always do, like clockwork, when you are interacting with this person. Step 3. Don't judge these people. You do it too. The point of all this is to bring you in line with reality, so you can see that the way people act towards you is nothing personal. They are on autopilot, and you happen to be receptive to their programming. Your karma matches up. It's as much your fault as it is theirs. Step 4. Don't try to change them. You will only frustrate yourself. Admit the truth of their being and love them. Decide if you really want to continue playing this game with them. If so, fine. If not, don't engage the program. It's up to you. The more skillful you become with this exercise, the more comical it will become. You will no longer be triggered, and it becomes a game. How are they going to try and trigger me this time, you'll ask. Most of the time you will catch it before it even happens, before they do their usual spiel that will make you feel untranquil. As you continue the relationship, they will unconsciously learn that they no longer have an effect on you. Then you will relax, thinking you have it mastered, and bam! Somehow, they will find another way to ruffle you, to surprise you. You won't take it so personally, unless it's terribly cruel, and you'll chuckle to yourself, "They got me that time." But this is not about wasting your time playing games with people. It is about seeing the truth of the quality of the relationship. It is about inspiring you to see realistically where you are in life in regards to relationships. This creates the groundwork, the foundation, for you to begin the process of change, of attracting what you do want out of your interactions with people. In a book called The Cosmic Power Within by Dr. Joseph Murphy, he speaks of tapping into our cosmic power, our divine essence, to create the life we want. The exercise below, based on Dr. Murphy's work, if used persistently, will give the results you would like to see. The cosmic power within is based on your ability to see and feel a different result, and then to allow the infinite consciousness, or the totality of your being, to bring the opportunities into your life to allow that different state to express. Remember, this is not about deserving, it is simply about deciding. If you have a deserving issue, it is only because you have decided to have an excuse not to live freely in this world, or to access the creative power of your spirit. You are able to generate any life experience you want with enough self-effort. You may have just been listening to the wrong people. Tune in to those who support this knowledge, and you will be supported. Page 32. Now back to divine love. When you look back on your life, I'm sure it is filled with a mixture of pleasant and unpleasant memories. There were times when you felt great love, anger, peace, hatred, laughter, resentment, joy, and grief. There were times when people treated you in ways that exceeded your expectations, and other times when you wished people treated you better. You may have often wondered at why people did what they did, and what their motivation was to be so kind or so despicable. As I was meditating a few years back, a flood of memories pushed up from my subconscious. I remembered all kinds of interactions with people, and the corresponding feelings from those moments. A whirl of emotions ran through me. After they passed, a realization dawned. Every experience I had had, no matter if I had labeled it good or bad, was an act of love. How can this be, you might ask yourself? I understand that all the good things I've experienced are an act of love, but how can the bad be love too? If you take the time to observe the interactions you have with people, you might notice one familiar component. Almost everyone you interact with is gaining your attention or giving you attention. How they do that is an individual preference based on how they were raised, taught to behave, and a little of their own experimentation in the process. Maybe they buy you flowers, clean the house before you get home, hit you, call you names, flatter you, give you a massage, cook you dinner, or undermine your confidence. Some are easier to digest, and some are perverted actions of the initial impulse. Many people are unconscious and do the nice things out of compulsion or fear because they don't want to lose you. Others act in menacing ways because they don't know any better. The point is, in any interaction, there is an exchange of attention. It is attention that is love. Many years ago I discovered that no matter what healing protocol I chose from, the force that empowered all healing was attention. The clearer my attention, the less of an agenda I had to disrupt my attention, the more authentic was the healing experience. The same holds true in all human interactions. The clearer and less distracted your attention is on the person in which you are interacting, the greater the love that is generated. When you decide to give someone attention with conditions, you are giving conditional love, which may be helpful when certain conditions are met. You say, I will give you love when you stop nagging me, or when you learn to appreciate how I'm different than you. Then you wait for the love to be returned, and they do the same, providing the same conditions. Really, if you are nagging a person to stop nagging you, so that you can give them love, it's the same thing. They nag you because they want you to be different, because their mind impels them to think your life would be better if you were different. That's love. Why? Because the motivation behind it is for your highest and best, as far as they see it. You hope they will be different because you really would like to spend some quality time, by your standards, with them without all the stress. That's love too. Now back to my point. It may not be that people will give you love the way you want it, but they will give you love the way they know how. It may not be pleasant, but it is still love nonetheless. In unpleasant situations, you don't always have to accept the conditional love you are being given. You can remove yourself from the situation, and that is sometimes necessary and beneficial. However, if you decide to love without condition, which also means without expectations, you may catch a glimpse of real love at work within your relationships. By expectations, I mean that you do not expect the people in your life to be any different than they have proven to be in the past. When you can love them as they are, you in turn will set the example to be loved as you are. You will bring into the relationship a dynamic they have never experienced before. Peace, acceptance, and no standards to live up to, unspoken or otherwise. All of this begins with you and no one else. It is your responsibility, whether you want it or not. When you claim it for yourself, you will find the strength of love in your life that you have been looking for all this time. Page 36. Love and Tranquility, the Holy Life. The virtue of love, the heart's natural love, is the principal requisite to attaining the holy life. When this love, the heavenly gift of nature, appears in the heart, it removes all causes of excitation from the system and cools it down to a perfectly normal state, and invigorating the vital powers expels all foreign matters, the germs of disease, by natural ways, such as perspiration and so forth. It thereby makes man perfectly healthy in body and mind, and enables him to understand properly the guidance of nature. When this love becomes developed in man, it makes him able to understand the real position of his own self, as well as of others surrounding him. Sri Yukteswar. Being in a state of love, bliss, and ease was not easy for me. Students that attended my classes are often amazed to hear that during the first part of my life I was irritable, pessimistic, often unpleasant, unhappy, angry, and had a cruel streak. Smiling genuinely and being pleasant was a foreign state for me to experience. Why? Because I didn't have much practice in existing in a state of love and peace. Much of how I interacted with the world was either out of fear or domination. It took me a number of years to learn to feel love and be in a state of love. Meditation made it much easier, because it allowed me to see the patterns and choices I had made that contributed to this state of affairs. By an act of will and conscious effort, I had to make myself feel love and be love. This was an inward process and not dependent on others recognizing it. I had no reason to make this choice, being trapped in the mind and my little sense of self that was created out of unconscious desires and cravings. It was insane to even think it was safe to love and be loved. It made no sense. I did it anyway, because an urge within me indicated that it was possible to be different, and that if I could be different, reality would change accordingly. Slowly, as the years rolled by, my persona changed. I learned to be at ease. I learned not to sweat all the fearful ideas the normal human condition likes to entertain. I learned to trust in the goodness of the world and the wholeness of life. The more I surrendered into the process, the easier it became to smile from a place of real warmth. I learned that if I wanted to be in a state of love, I had to cut out relationships that were fear, domination-based, and seek out relationships that were natural, supportive, and positively challenging when necessary. 12 years after I graduated from high school, and 10 years into my practice of meditation and the techniques taught in these lessons, I met with a woman whom I went to school. We hadn't seen each other in that time. As we sat having tea at a bookstore, halfway through the conversation, she asked me if there was something wrong with me. She said she had never seen me smile so much, and that I appeared totally different than the angst-ridden person she had known previously. I didn't really notice how major the changes were in myself until she pointed it out. Sometimes changes can occur, and we are not aware of it, because we are always with ourselves. It's just like aging. One day you look in the mirror after seeing a picture of yourself 20 years earlier, and you notice the difference. Since you see yourself in the mirror every day, you don't notice how age has progressed until you have a point of reference to compare it to. I'm telling you this because I want you to take time with yourself. Unless you have a spontaneous enlightenment experience, your changes will be gradual. If you are not used to feeling love or being love, it will take time. Be patient and let it unfold. Stay steady with the intention and it will occur. Here is an exercise I use daily. It has contributed greatly to expanding my mind and consciousness to encourage the experience of personal, divine, and cosmic love in my life. Exercise 3, Step 1. After your regular meditation practice, remember a time when you felt completely content, when all was good and right in the world. Remember a time when you felt fulfilled.